Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name's Emma and today I'm going to be telling you a little bit about all of the books I read in July. If you're new here, truly welcome to my channel. I hope you decide to stick around, and if you're not new here then thank you for sticking around. I managed to read 11 books in July, which I was so proud of, especially since I started a new job, and one of them was, I think, the longest book I've ever read and probably one of the longest books ever written. I also managed to read across quite a lot of genres this month. I read some non-fiction, some plays, some poetry, but I also read my typical romance and some classics, so I'm really excited to share these books with you guys. I've split this video into star ratings. We're going to start at all of the books I gave 3 stars this month and work up to all of the books that I gave 5 stars. I'm really lucky, I had a great reading month, so I didn't give any book a score below 3 stars. And with that, let's just get started. 3 stars. So I've only got one book that fits into the 3-star category this month, and that is a steamy romance, and it is Wicked Fall by Sawyer Bennett. Now, this steamy romance did exactly what it said in the tin and nothing more, hence the 3-star rating. It did what it came to do, but not much else. It's about a billionaire cowboy type that decides, along with running his family business that's worth billions and billions of dollars, he's going to set up a BDSM club with his friend. And one of his friends comes back to town after the most terrible breakup, and he finds her in the bar section of this new secretive BDSM club. And as you can imagine, things ensue from there. And was it great? No. Did it do exactly what it said on the tin? Yes. So if you like that sort of thing, then definitely check this one out because it's very good. It gave what it gave. 3.5 stars. Now I have 2 books that fit into this category this month, and the first is Wendy Darling, which is a feminist and also kind of horror retelling of Peter Pan, and I didn't know I needed that in my life, but I very much did. Now in this book, Wendy is all grown up when Peter comes back to take her to Neverland. He doesn't recognise her and he kidnaps her daughter Jane, and Wendy then has to go back to Neverland in order to save her daughter. Now in this book, Peter isn't an innocent boy that wants to stay young forever. He's something a lot darker and a lot more sinister, which puts the best spin on this retelling. This retelling also tackles the racism in the original text, which I thought was done very well. It also touches on LGBTQ themes as well. One thing to note is that Wendy in this book is an abuse survivor. She's been institutionalised, and what she experienced in there was very much abuse, so definitely check the triggers before you read this book. The second book that I gave 3.5 stars in July is Lullabies by Lang Leave. Now this is a poetry collection and I really wanted to love this collection a lot more than I did. I really like Lang Leave's poetry. I've read quite a lot of it through Pinterest over the years, and when I saw this I decided I had to have it. And it disappointed in parts. About 40% of this hit with me and the other 60 didn't, but the 40% that hit hard, which is why it got 3.5 stars. It is a great collection, it's just there's quite a lot of duds in it. It could have done with some thinning out, in my opinion. Lang Leave writes some gorgeous poetry. I would encourage you to check her out, and particularly if you like Rupi Kaur, I see a couple of similarities here. So if you've read Rupi Kaur's work and you're wondering what you should read next, this is probably a good suggestion. Now, to move on to the 4-star books that I read this month, and the first book I'm going to talk about is All Your Perfects by Colleen Hoover. Now, I read this book for a first time reading Colleen Hoover vlog, which is still to go up on my channel. I'm just finishing off Ugly Love and It Ends With Us. Definitely keep an eye out for that. That should be coming out later this month. I really wasn't sure what to expect with Colleen Hoover. I purposely went into this blind, and I've went into Ugly Love and It Ends With Us completely blind as well. I was expecting Colleen Hoover to be a rom-com romance author, and what I found was very different. Around chapter 4 in this book, I thought I might need to DNF it. I thought I was going to absolutely hate it because one of the central themes in this book is struggles with infertility issues and how this has affected a marriage. and it really read like my worst nightmare. As someone that really wants to have kids when they're older, this was terrifying, and I really didn't like it, so I thought I was going to have to DNF it. But I persevered, and I'm so glad I did. Although I didn't really enjoy the experience of reading this book, it felt like going through trauma after trauma. I'm really glad that I read it because I think I took a lot away from it, specifically about myself and the way I handle myself within my own relationships and my personal life. So I really appreciated that, and something that has definitely stuck in my brain, which is why I gave it 4 stars. I'm really hoping that I end up enjoying Ugly Love and it ends with us as much as All Your Perfects. The second book I've got to show you guys in the 4-star section that I read this month is Stealing Phoenix. Now, I've talked about this book on my channel before. I talked about this in my favourite underrated YA series. This is the second book in the Savant series by Joss Sterling, and it's a series that I really love. The Savants series is set in a universe where everyone's mostly normal, but there are some people called Savants who have been born with extra abilities. This allows them to communicate telepathically, and they usually have some form of like superpower type skill, like seeing glimpses of the future. So it's an interesting concept, but what makes this book even more interesting is the Benedict brothers, who this series is centred around, are a group of savants who assist the FBI, MI5 and other crime organisations to track down savants that have been using their gifts to commit crimes. So picture YA romance meets a little bit of crime thriller, and these books are what you get. The second book, Stealing Phoenix, is my favourite in the series. Definitely check it out if YA is your thing. Now, the next book I've got to mention in the 4 stars section is Madeline Millers' Gelatia. Now, this is a Pygmalion retelling, and it was absolutely fantastic. However, it was so short because it is a short story, but I felt like I needed a little bit more from the characters in order to truly feel for them, so I would have liked even if it was like 5 or 10 pages longer. I did really enjoy this, however, and I loved the fact that it was such a feminist retelling. I love that. So if you're looking for something that's short, a little bit mythological, and is written very well, definitely check out Gelatia. The last 4-star book I read this month is actually a play, and it is A Streetcar Named Desire. I'm still not entirely sure how I feel about this play, but it has stuck in my mind ever since I've read it, which is the mark of a really good piece of literature in my opinion. I really sympathise with Blanche. I have not been able to get her out of my head. She is a southern belle, but also it's implied that she's done sex work in this. It sort of touches on the Madonna whore sort of scenario, and it's just so good. However, one thing I didn't like about this is that the 2 main characters that are male in this book either threaten to use assault as a means of degrading and controlling women, or actually inflict it, which I didn't like, obviously. I didn't really understand if Tennessee Williams was particularly condemning this. The fact that I wasn't able to 100% say yes, this has been condemned, sort of put a sour note on this one for me, so that knocked the star off it. But I really did like this, and if you're looking for a quick short read, definitely check this out. Mine was annotated because I got it secondhand, and as always the annotations added quite a nice extra layer. Now, moving on to the books that I gave 5 stars this month, the creme de la creme, and they really are. All of these were so good. The first book I'm going to talk about in this section is The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. So like Gelatia, I read this for my Reading Madeline Miller for the First Time vlog, which you can find on my channel, and I absolutely adored it. I love Friends to Lovers, and Achilles and Patroclus' relationship completely fit that bill. It was the best thing to read. I absolutely loved it. I didn't see the ending coming. I didn't see any of the typical Greek tragedy twists coming. The only problem I had with this book was the way that women were treated, and the fact that I don't think it was really all that addressed. It's addressed more in Circe, which I also absolutely loved. I do understand that Song of Achilles was not really going for that feminist vibe as much as it was going for this is a really lovely LGBTQ romance. So I completely respect that, and it did what it did and it did it flawlessly. It was just slightly missing that girl boss feminist element, which I got from Circe, so I was happy. Speaking of, next up on my list is Circe by Madeline Miller, which I adored. I think this was my favourite Madeline Miller book, closely followed by Song of Achilles, I may add. This was fantastic. This is a feminist retelling about Circe, who is the witch that turns men into pigs. You might remember her from Sea of Monsters, Percy Jackson, where she turns Percy into a guinea pig. And this is fantastic. Madeline Miller asks what drove Circe to this, how did she get to this point, does she ever grow out of this? And she gives her this whopping, amazing, epic tale, and she intertwines it with other famous characters, and there's actually a Song of Achilles and Circe like crossover section in this. They're in the same universe, which I thought was absolutely amazing. So I absolutely loved this. I thought it was a 10 out of 10. The next book I've got to talk about in the 5-star section is Men Who Hate Women by Laura Bates. This book, I think, is one of the most important books I've ever read, and it is amazing. It is a non-fiction book, but don't let that put you off. It's so interesting. It's about incel culture and how this is mixed basically to give the rise of Andrew Tate and the normalisation of extreme misogynistic views that also sort of lean towards white supremacy in our culture, and how this is also linked to social media. And it's all so good. Laura Bates is fantastic. My favourite thing about this book is one of the experiments it describes, and I'd encourage you to try out this experiment once you've finished the video. This experiment tells you to open an incognito tab on your laptop, completely clear your cache in that incognito tab so that there's no history, go into YouTube, type in what is feminism, click search, press in the first video, turn your autoplay on, and fast forward to the end of the video. Just count how many videos it takes for YouTube's suggested algorithm to lead you on to extreme misogynistic content. Because for me it took 3 videos, which is insane. If you want to have your mind blown, if you want to feel angry, then please read this book. It's so important. The last book I've got to show you guys, and I can barely pick it up because it's actually so heavy, is The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandra Dumas. Now she's a thickie, she wiggles, and this was amazing, I have to admit. It was hard going at some points, but surprisingly fast paced. I think the reason I found it hard going is just because I knew how much of it was left, but it was so good. This is the ultimate revenge tale. So if you're petty, if you're looking for ideas to get an ex-boyfriend back, a best friend who betrayed you, Bible right here. So genuinely this was really great. It focuses on Edmund, who is a man who is falsely imprisoned by 2 people, one who is jealous of him because he's in love with his fiance, and another one who is jealous of his success. And it deals with all of this, and then him escaping prison by faking his own death, and him getting revenge on everyone that put him there. And it's fantastic, honestly. The revenge book. The revenge book. I'm excited to read more about Alexandra Dumas. I have The Three Musketeers and it's a lot thinner than this, so I might give that a go soon. So that's my July wrap up. 11 books and 4,000 pages. Thank you, The Count of Monte Cristo. Let me know down in the comments if you've read any of the books that I've talked about, and also let me know your favourite book that you've read in July, or just your favourite book. I'd love to hear it and I'd love to get some more recommendations. If you enjoyed this video, then you'll probably also enjoy my video where I talk about all of my 5-star books from January until June. There's also quite a mix of genres in there, so if you enjoyed this video then definitely go check that out. Also, I update at 2 PM every Saturday, and occasionally on a Wednesday at 2 p.m. UK time, so if you're wanting to keep up with my content, that's the times when I post. Also, if you've enjoyed this video, consider subscribing to my channel, it really helps me out. And if you're already subscribed, thanks so much. I hope you stick around. Thanks for watching to the end. Again, it really helps me out, and I love you guys.